Good evening and welcome to the WGLNA. I'm Joshua Gray, joined as always by Randall Holcomb. Tonight is day 2 of Qualifier 1 for Season 5. Tonight we're going to award 2 teams a spot in the Gold League season. And we saw some incredible matches last night, Randall. I'm looking forward to more action-packed battles tonight.
Yeah, tonight it's going to be probably some of the best matches I'm going to be able to see until we get to the regular season. We've got 4 teams, all of whom names are just burned into my brain right now. I will never forget Simply Irresistible. Doge Squad and Penguin Mafia have really made themselves stand out today.
They have indeed. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about Simply Irresistible. They are a team from the Simp clan, but only 3 members are actually from the Simp clan. The other members are from different clans out there in the World of Tanks universe. Now, the difference in terms of their type of strategy is how they were able to adapt to Zulu Swarm in particular. Zulu Swarm surprised us with their type of tactics, but in the end, Simply Irresistible had the fundamentals, and they had the brawls to get the win.
Yeah, I really loved how they used their light tanks, especially on steps, as just a hit squad, where they would attempt to overwhelm their opponent as soon as they recognized their playstyle, and just took it apart. Now, there were some costs in there. With their brawling style, there's a lot of cost involved, a lot of risk there, but they've been coming out ahead.
They've been coming out ahead, but we have to look towards the polish. And the litmus tests, I like to call it, is, basic or acidic, either too defensive or too aggressive. Simply Irresistible is about in the center, but they need to work on more fundamentals, but they performed a lot better compared to some other teams that we saw. And that's the nature of the qualifiers. We're going to see all sorts of different talented teams signing up. But Simply Irresistible, they worthy to have the Simp name? Indeed, they are. But we'll see how they're going to go up against their opponents, Penguin Mafia, tonight. Another thing about Simply Irresistible is they've been together for a little while. They placed 3rd overall in the Silver League after a major rework that they had with their team. That's actually Penguin Mafia with their team. They had a complete rework, and they placed 3rd place in Silver League. So Simply Irresistible is going to be going up against Penguin Mafia, who's proved themselves in the Silver League. Let's see if they have what it takes. Moving on to Penguin Mafia, I was impressed with what we saw yesterday from them. This is a stronger team, a tighter team since qualifiers before.
Yeah, they've been improving constantly, and they've been, just like you said, in every single qualifier where we've gotten to know them. We know their names, we know their play style, we know some of their strengths and weaknesses, and you've been seeing that grow. You've been seeing that change, and that's really kind of heartwarming for me to see that, because it's watching a team grow from something that was just raw and new to something that's looking very polished, especially, and I'm glad we're showing Cliff right now, because Cliff is an example of them, even though they lose in the situation, doing something so comprehensive and smart that it really caught me off guard. Their playstyle on Cliff I didn't expect it. I didn't expect them to be able to flow like they did and take an opponent's cap point and screen it effectively, which was just wonderful to see. I really enjoyed that, and I hope we can see more of that tonight.
Well, after this 3rd iteration of the Penguin Mafia we're seeing in tonight's qualifier compared to what we saw last night, I want to see more of the same coming from them. But one of the things they have to remember is they're up against a team that's going to be tougher compared to last night. And that is the junction point for a lot of these teams that have made it through the qualifiers. Oh, we've cruised through a lot of these different teams. We're doing well. But this is going to be the hardest fight for every single one of these teams for this season to make it in. There is a bit of relief once you make it in, and then the fight does start to go uphill once you make it through the season. But moving past that door, and as long as you perform well in Season 5, you can stay in the Gold League.
Yeah, one of the nice things about having a qualifier is that you run through this bracket, and you get to fight team after team after team. So you start out with some basic strategies, an idea of how you want to approach all of the maps, and you want to approach the format. You don't get to really see the best of your team when it's the first and only match you're going to play. If they were playing one match to get in, I would not expect the same level of performance. But now that they've gone through a few rounds, they've gotten to polish themselves up. They're more fresh and ready to take on a bigger, better team like Simply Irresistible.
Well, Penguin Mafia has been here before, but another team that has not necessarily been through the qualifiers before is Simple Tankers. This is a team that has been a member of the Gold League ever since Season 1, but unfortunately, due to their performance, was relegated out of the Gold League, and they're trying to fight their way back via the qualifiers. Simple Tankers has gone through some changes. They added Unknown One and Craft. They released Mournblade because of an illness. We wish him all the best in his recovery. And Whiskey Dog. And last night, Randall, Simple Tinkers scared us. We did not see that brawl-type mode that we needed to see out of them. We saw a lot of aggression towards the flag cap, but not really winning the engagements against their opponents.
Yeah, I think you hit it perfectly. The cap. They were going after it so aggressively. It was their one and only goal in every single battle, it appeared, when they went into this tournament. They learned after last night's match that that's not necessarily the best idea. Screening the cap and putting some pressure on it, yes, it works a lot of the time, but with the longer cap time and against more competent teams, it's not going to be possible. And they got torn apart for it. They did eventually adapt, and later in the series looked much better than when they started, showing that they are a team that is near to what they were in the Gold League before, able to adapt and grow even in a match.
That adaptation was key. We talked about it throughout the series, is that they kept focusing on placing their tanks on the flag cap itself instead of winning the HP values, instead of winning the long-range firefights. And once Simple Tinkers was able to do that in the very last battle, once they won that long-range firefight, then they could move in. They had the overmatch, maybe not necessarily in tank numbers, but in health. And because of that, they got the win. They need to practice that principle that we saw in that last battle throughout the series tonight and throughout their career in Season 5 if they make it, in order to have a chance to stay in the Gold League and perhaps become champions. That being said, let's focus on the last team tonight. That's the Doge Squad. Personal favorites of ours due to their soundboard mechanics, but also the fun that these individuals like to have when it comes to World of Tanks. Doge Squad joined us in qualifiers in the past, and they've gone through many changes throughout the history of the team. So many changes, in fact, that only one of the starting members of the Doge Squad is still on the team. They were formed by a number of clans that were associated with Reddit, and they are excited that in this iteration of their qualifier, they get to face Simple Tankers.
Yes, and you couldn't get a good gauge on their skill last night, but there were a few little indicators. Shots like you just saw there on a T-37. Little things here and there showed me that Doge Squad is a competent team, but their opponent wasn't playing up to a level I think that they could have, and because of that, I felt like we didn't get to see how truly good they were, or see them challenged enough to the point where we got to see what the true expanse of their skill and knowledge is, or competency as a team.
Warriors of Light was their opponent last night, and they did not have
honor, sir.
Sorry.
Get your virtues.
I'm sorry.
Get
Warriors
your
of Honor.
virtues.
Warriors of Honor were their opponents last night, and they looked like a qualifying team from the round of 32. I mean, this was a type of team that we saw, the type of format that we saw. Sure, they could have had game day jitters, but hopefully they'll tighten things up for qualifier 2 if they do sign up. But I have to agree with your assessment there. It wasn't the best way for us to judge how really Doge Squad is doing based on their opponents last night. Tonight, we're going to have a much better idea. With that being said, folks, thanks for tuning into the pregame show. We like to remind everybody to follow us on Twitter and on Facebook and everything when it comes to social media, and we're going to explain all that in the betting bot after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WGLNA. I'm Joshua Gray, joined by Randall Holcomb. If you're just joining us, we finished our pregame show discussing a little bit of history and what's at stake for each of these teams. In the qualifiers, there are 2 spots open for the matches tonight. So both the winners from the first 2 matches will know they're going to be in the Gold League, but they're going to fight one final match in the finals in order to determine seeding and proper placement. Map choices have already been done. We're waiting for the final confirmation from the admin for the countdown. But until then, I want to remind everybody to please follow us on Twitter at WGLNA, Facebook.com/WGLNA, and make sure to use that hashtag so we can find your tweets and put them up on the broadcast, WGLNA. Also hit that follow button down below for our Twitter page, or excuse me, our Twitch page, so that you can get a notification every time we go live. And the question of the day today is, what is your first impression of the 7x54 attack defense mode? Let us know. Second night tonight that we're going to see it.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to some slightly higher level matches as the best teams are getting farther in. Some different strategies, maybe something to catch us off guard. I was impressed with what Simple Tankers was doing, their approach, after they decided not to cap anymore, the roving RU-251s. Seeing a T-49 actually played was I wasn't sure about it.
We'll see how it's able to hold up in other matches tonight if somebody brings it. Also, betting opens at the beginning, or right before actually, every single battle that we have. Place your bets now. Follow the syntax in the Twitch chat, or go to WGLConnect.com. The top performers when it comes to points at the end of the night, the top 50, will be entered into a possibility to take home a prize. That being said, let's quickly take a look at the rosters for these 2 teams. Some notable players on both sides, obviously, but Penguin Mafia, we've seen these individuals before. Simply Irresistible back again tonight. And we are ready, ladies and gentlemen, for battle number 1 between Simply Irresistible and Penguin Mafia. It's going to take place on Cliff. Randall, what do we have for tanks?
For tanks, I'm looking at a Pershing, T-69, 2 1390s, RU-251, and, T-49, yes, and a T-37. That's going to be, looks like, Simply Irresistible. They're the blue team. They are attacking. On the other side, Penguin Mafia will be bringing 4 1390s and RU-251 and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. Those Walker Bulldogs being a staple of this format early on. And I'm going to be interested to see if that T-49 is going to be able to perform with an amazing jump towards the middle at the beginning.
Bit of a spread. Well, one tank has actually left the group. That's Bobby and the Walker Bulldog, as the rest of his team is going into the center. Penguin Mafia doing the same. Simply Irresistible in the blue, spawn north, and we'll find out which tank will land the first blow as they move up into the rocks. Flak going up top first.
Scrublet's going up and over, 331 damage into Flak to start it off. In exchange, a little damage going back and forth, and Siorki is down to half health. It's going to be an all-in, straight-up brawl right off the start.
And there goes Armor. Flak waiting for that reload on that Bulldog, and now who's the next target? Looks like it's Laxbrock going for the surround. Simply Irresistible takes down 2, now 3 of Penguin Mafia's tanks, and they've lost 3 now on their side, trading it up. Back and forth brawling happening as Pride pushes up against Triumph, the insult tanker, as Vote in the 1390, perhaps reloading, but staying out of the firefight. And a long-range fire coming from the Walker Bulldog. Bobby able to land a couple more shots. Pride takes down Triumph. Scrublet moves in at half health. Vode still on that reload in that 1390. As his teammate tries to get out of there, Pride is not able to get out. 3 tanks against 2 now. Penguin Mafia able to take down Vode. 1 tank left from Simply Irresistible. This changed hands quickly, Randall.
Very quickly. Once the autoloaders ran out of shells and were destroyed, they'd lost their momentum, and then you saw Penguin Mafia just snatch it right back. The Pershing with its consistent fire. Scrublet, I saw letting out a few shells, which did, I'm going to have to look after the battle, but I'm guessing significant damage. Everything worked out. A good focus fire. However, Simply Irresistible, I have to give it to them. Early on, that focus fire was beautiful. I thought they were going to be able to rip some tanks apart. I think they went for some of the wrong tanks, though. If they'd gotten the Pershing Blaze Zero and Gigmaster early on, this might have been a different fight altogether, but Penguin Mafia handled themselves excellently in this situation, and now it's all about cleanup.
It's all about Bobby. It's all about Bobby trying to escape here from Penguin Mafia. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Bobby is on the defensive. The question is, will Penguin Mafia go to the south to look for him, or are they going to jump on the flag cap?
Looks like the flag cap will be the opening move. Sorry, the closing move. Gigmaster will be heading towards the east cap with Scrublet and Blaze Zero in tow. That'll be 3 tanks on cap. Easy should, oh, no, 2. Scrublet's going to go and screen from the high ground. I guess they're going to look for him coming from the south, and there's the proxy spot. Scrublet has found Bobby.
And the T-49 destroys Bobby. That's what I was talking about yesterday, Randall. That one shot and get the heck out of there. But that Bulldog, I thought it was going to take 2 from the T-49. Not the case.
Nope.
He sealed that deal with the kiss from his turret. Nice job coming from both these teams in the engagement at first. But what do we have for the hard stats?
All right, so Scrublet in the T-49, 3 shells connect out of 4 fired, so 1 miss in there. He does a good 2,202 damage. A tier 8 light tank with a 152mm cannon. It just shows up and things blow up easy.
Show up and blow up.
Every day.
Oh, Season 2. You were a lot of fun.
Oh, yes. Now, on the other side, I have to give it to the RU-251, which was also able to do 2,119 damage before he was destroyed. Look at everyone else's damage, though. That's sub 1,000. They were not able to survive long enough, and you can notice how some tanks were able to deal plenty of damage. The Pershing, being a consistent fire tank, I think is what really helped in this battle for Penguin Mafia.
The consistent fire, it feels to me that later in the match, the more prevalent it becomes, the more necessary and important it becomes, and the strength of that type of tank, that's where it is. In the beginning of the matchup, autoloaders, that burst fire, you mix it up with maybe an IS-3 for that alpha strike damage, you can take down a tank very quickly if you're able to get a track or he took a wrong route. And that's a trade-off. That is a trade-off. And that's a trade-off that we brought up a number of times with the WZ-132 and the implications of using that tank compared to a 1390.
Yeah, and now with more light tanks to draw from, you have many different options. WZ-132 is going to be more niche than it was before. I mean, it was rarely played, but it's still probably viable in some situations, but now you've got the T-54 lightweight to compete with it, and now you've got the RU-251, all of these other tanks which bring as much to the battlefield as many of our old light tanks, but with slightly different quirks to them.
And the possibility of somebody bringing a WZ-131 in the new format with 1 Tier 7
yeah.
and a number of Tier 8s. We'll see if somebody does that. Battle number 2 on Cliff between Penguin Mafia and Simply Irresistible is about to begin. Randall, what do we have for tanks?
For tanks, it looks like we've got a Pershing, T-69, 2 1390s, RU-251, T-49, and a T-37. That is Simply Irresistible, the blue team spawning in the north on defense. Penguin Mafia, the red team attacking. Pershing, T-69, 2 1390s, RU-251, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. They've altered their lineup just a little bit here. So now we've got Pershings and T-69s on both sides, evening it up a little bit, and that should, in Simply Irresistible's favor, maybe give them a better chance, and they won't have to just rush in and hope to burst everything down.
Can they change the outcome with the same opening? Simply Irresistible still keeping one of their tanks further away, and now getting to that top area of the cliffside, closer to the lighthouse, but staying away from the middle rocks. You'll notice their spread is further out, more defensive. T-69, Kaiser, Viticus staying further away, Flak staying further away. So different approach coming from Simply Irresistible, but Penguin Mafia is keeping the tension there with their tanks in the middle.
Yep, we've also got to the west, Syorki taking on the Laxbra, and Laxbra is in a crossfire, but here come the 1390s. They're going to back him up. T-37 should go down, one more shell.
Big shot against the T-37. Laxbra takes a big hit. Stride and Pride trying to land that final shot for the kill from up top. He is covered by the rest of his teammates as Blaze Zero took a couple hits, 121 in that shot.
And Laxbra needs to back off. They don't want to lose the C-37. It's a little tank, maybe not as potent as the rest of the tanks in the field, but still viable and potent when given the chance. Now we've got, Laxbra down, Syorki, and Canadian Mono is going to move in for the kill.
Jumping over to Skorky, moving back down to the bottom of that small hill. That is a new feature when they redid the map, as we talked about yesterday. Skorky now climbing slowly.
But we've got an engagement in the middle. We've got JD moving over, everyone moving over, and the focus is on Blaze Zero at the start, right on the consistent fire tank, and it is down.
A big bounce against Triumph, but they return fire, taking down Vote. Strider now trying to focus on Triumph, the insult tanker in the center. Gigmaster in the T69 could be reloading as he waits for the inevitable as 3 tanks are surrounding him. 4 total, actually. The T69 Kaiser setting his sights on it for the kill. Armor just above Kaiser, along with Scrubble in the T49. T49 takes a shot for 222. Bobby getting close to the cliff, hugging the bottom, noticing there's no more tanks coming around on the eastern side, decides to pull back towards the houses for cover. Flak will maintain his position, trade positions, and now Flak will head to the east along with Bobby. Up top, Scrublet still seen, I believe, but now they're going to fully commit on the other side towards the closest flag cap.
And with them moving back on the east side towards their cap, you've got Armor down below who could get caught out, but Scrublet being at the top of the lighthouse may be able to rain down some very serious damage on the top of some of these lights. Not quite able to get that connection, but if he waits around a moment longer, he may be able to pick up Kaiser with a little damage. No, looks like Kaiser's going to play it smart and stay below his gun. But now Armor and Canadian Mono are going to be engaged upon. It's going to be a 3v2 effectively.
Bobby and Flak sprawling out, then coming back together. Flak is taking the majority of the damage here. Bobby's trying to body block, gets a nice body block to cover the shot, but Canadian Mono takes down Flak. Bobby trying to shut down Canadian Mono. One more hit and he will fall. 1390, Bobby dodges a shot from the RU-251. He needs help from his teammates now to focus on Armor. Instead, they take down Canadian Mono. Bobby falls to Armor in the RU-251, and JD and Kaiser Viticus are squared up against Scrublet and Armor from Penguin Mafia. It's still anybody's game, even though Penguin Mafia is up 1-0 so far in the series, and Simply Irresistible is on the defensive. It is Penguin Mafia's move.
And they could go either way. It depends on if they can get the pressure. Armor is pinned in a very dangerous position. Backing out could be an option. However, with him able to do that damage, wow, Scrublet dropping it on him. And JD is down to 588 hit points. Armor and Scrublet can deal with this. They just have to worry about Kaiser. Kaiser can bring this back. With the amount of hit points on Scrublet and Armor, one clip from that T69 could take out either of them.
The question for Simply Irresistible, which tank do they focus on first? Do they go for the high ground where Scrublet is in the T49, a slower firing tank but can do more damage? Or the RU-251, tank that's down below but can quickly get over to the east side, maybe put some more flag cap pressure, which he's doing now. They have to make a decision and they have to do it quickly. 2 minutes and 16 seconds. Simply Irresistible has the time on their side because if the clock goes to 0, it's a win for the defenders.
Yes, and with 2 minutes and 7 seconds, a minute 43 on the clock, one good reset could be all that Simply Irresistible needs to take this one as a win. It's going to be very difficult for Scrublet to hold this. He has to watch both sides, both approaches, and oh, Kaiser's going up top. That could be the play. Scrublet has given up the high ground and is now slightly lower. He will notice there. He sees Kaiser and he's taking a hit. He's backing off.
And one shot coming from his teammate just over the T49. T49 scrambling to get down below. Armor makes the right play to get off the flag cap to meet the danger coming from JD as Kaiser is still on the chase from the T49, who I think tracked himself falling down the cliff. T49 waiting for a big shot against that T69. If he gets a big hole shot from that angle, that's going to be a lot of damage against that tank. However, Kaiser switches his approach, looks from up above towards Armor. Can he get a shot on it? No, Armor gets behind the rock. JD's in trouble. JD falls back in the Pershing, but a track shot.
That track shot ruins the fight for him. Wow, he 36 damage in the ram, and that doesn't pen. This could be where he comes back. No, it looks like Armor's going to get reloaded just in time. And now it's Scrublet and Armor, both at very low, 240 hit points on Armor. A high roll from Kaiser, or 2 good shells, should finish him, but then he has to take on Scrublet. He is at full health, and there are 47 seconds left.
Kaiser has the option to wait this out as long as he can with 40 seconds left on the board. Takes down Armor with one shot. Scrublet at T49 gets hit for 241. Not sure how many shells are still left in the T69.
I think he could have
We know
one.
he shot 2, so he could have 1.
I know he shot 3.
He
Once
shot
from
3.
up above, and then he closed the distance.
That's true. He did not reload from there.
I doubt he would have had the time to.
One shot. The T49 is trying to get up close.
He's got to put it right
It's
in
not
the
want to miss.
engine deck, but it looks like
Kaiser had the one shot, gets the kill and the victory. Nice placement from Simply Irresistible. Well-timed, patient maneuver, and it made those final shots count. That track shot was excellent, by the way, as well.
Yes, I really liked the play from both teams. It was very tense at the end. That T-49, I'm not sure that I agree with it being the best choice in this situation. It failed them in some respects, but it still was such a huge threat that I think it was a viable choice in some respects. So I'm torn on whether the T-49 is a good tank for Cliff. The RU-251 is something I lean towards, and you saw how effective it could be. But you can make arguments both ways, I think.
T-49 is a trump tank. It's that trump card of, oh, this tank has half health? Dead. I got it. I liked how you said that there was so much threat coming from the T-49. That is its strongest position that it had, probably throughout the entire battle in Battle 2. Battle 1, it annihilated that Bulldog.
Oh, yeah.
But in Battle 2, that type of positioning is key for control. And just because you're not firing at an enemy or you're not taking damage or you're not in the thick of the action, you are still maintaining some sort of strategic asset for your team. And that's why patience comes into play, especially up on that lighthouse in that top view position where you can have a lot better angles. I'm not as familiar with the T-49 since it's new on its depression, how it does with angles.
It's pretty good. It's sufficient.
It's sufficient.
It's sufficient.
Right.
American tanks generally have good depression. There's some exceptions in there, but for the most part, you can say American tank equals good gun depression, and that's highly useful as a tool. Whereas many Russian tanks and actually the RU-251, we can get into this if we see it, can suffer in depression sometimes.
Sure. Battle number 3 between Penguin Mafia and Simply Irresistible, currently tied 1-1, will take place again on Cliff. This time, the tables have turned. Attackers and defenders are on opposite sides now, on opposite roles. Randall, what do we have for tanks?
All right, Penguin Mafia, now the blue team and defending, will be taking a Pershing, a T-69, two 1390s, RU-251, and two M41 Walker Bulldogs. On the other side, it looks like Simply Irresistible, the red team now attacking, will bring a Pershing, two T-69s, 1390, T-49, and two M41 Walker Bulldogs. So we're seeing slight variations here. Both teams now, I think, probably settling on the M41 Bulldog strategy. No more T-37s. They're not quite as effective, and they seem to be a little bit soft.
Well, I'm looking at this split, but I need to jump over to where Flak is because he just took a big hit. This engagement on these light tanks. Who's going to win this out? Armor is able to stop Flak in his tracks, but now he is alone. Canadian Mono turns around. Armor still low, is going to fall back. Bode could be the next one to fall here from Simply Irresistible, and he does go down, but revenge kill against Armor. Bobby now being surrounded by Penguin Mafia. Pride moves in to try to help out, but Bobby is losing HP quickly. He's the next to fall. Now Pride, all alone, is up against 3 tanks. This individualistic mentality of these tanks coming in to try to help whoever is alive has now left them at a deficit with only 1 tank left alive, or excuse me, only 1 tank down for Penguin Mafia, and only 4 tanks left alive, soon only 3.
Oh,
big
right
miss.
at the end, Scrublet actually going down, revealing himself. In the middle, there is a fight happening. We've lost Gigmaster, but 2 mediums remain. The Laxbra and Blaze Zero for Penguin Mafia against Skyorki and Kaiser, who have the high ground. Skyorki is actually running away currently, leaving this as a 2v1 situation that I don't think Penguin Mafia has quite recognized yet. Kaiser is alone. It is a 2v4.
Kaiser from up top cannot penetrate as effectively against Blaze Zero, who's crushing towards him, and Laxbra from behind able to secure that kill. And the final shot from Blaze Zero puts 2 on the board for Penguin Mafia on Cliff. We're going to see Cliff one more time, and the next map will be Prohorovka, still attack defense. The team will attack twice and then defend twice. That's why we saw that switch. This game can still go either way. I feel this was a choice at the beginning to split the tanks, that the strategic choice was wrong based on the counter that happened, but it's rather than did we do anything wrong in the engagement.
You can just see that there's 4 tanks, and then we're waiting to see if backup's going to arrive. And that's the big thing. Tanks being in the right place, the high ground going to Penguin Mafia in this, and I think that gave them the advantage for a little while. Some tanks got to reassess the situation, distance themselves a little bit, and then take over. Simply Irresistible didn't get that option. They tried to get the high ground, but not everyone was able to do that. And so the RU-251, finds himself out of the fight for a moment, and then has to re-engage. I think wasting some precious seconds and putting him at a distance where when he was re-engaging, he wasn't able to be as effective as he wanted. In fact, in that battle, we actually... Canadian Mono in an M41 Walker Bulldog Tier 7 tank was able to deal the most damage. He does 2,263.
Impressive. Impressive, especially for this type of tank in this type of new format to see, oh, can Tier 7s really make a difference? Of course they can. T1's made a difference in the 7x42 format, and it's exciting to see the layers of strategery and execution when it comes to combat when you have all 7 tanks that are combat viable.
Yes, and the M41 is a great tank, really. The new American Lights, if you guys get a chance to play them, they're exactly what you want a light tank to be. They're maneuverable, they have good vision, good camo, their gun is potent enough, which is all you can ask for. Potent enough. You can't ask for an amazing cannon on most of these tanks.
It's good enough. It's good enough. We'll see if Simply Irresistible is good enough to tie up this series, or if Penguin Mafia will continue their lead 2-1. Battle 4 on the cliff between these two teams. What do we have for tanks?
Looks like a Pershing, 2 T69s, 1390, T49, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. That is Simply Irresistible. They're the red team in the south attacking. Penguin Mafia, the blue team defending, will have a Pershing, T69, 2 1390s, RU-251, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. Scrublet's just sticking with that T49. All day.
Can't blame him.
It's been working out pretty well for him. Although I felt that it was more inconsistent than what he's able to do with it. So maybe in the right hands, the T49 is the kind of tank that you really do want on the battlefield. Its ability to just alpha something. However, HE can be inconsistent. Although it's better, I guess, than a bounce.
It's better than a bounce. Still have some sort of, well, at least you can get the track sometimes, and that's what can really count. As we saw in the first engagement, they tracked that T51, or excuse me, 251. More shots fired coming from Flak, and semi-pincer attack. The other side is not completely engaged yet.
Laxbra is going to go down. That is it. Caught out in the open. Not fast enough, and those light tanks were sitting there waiting. This goes back to something last season even about Cliff, where if your mediums, if they're moving across the open, are going to get caught out by light tanks if they're... Go for it.
Yeah, Penguin Mafia is now pushing in. We're still watching if they're going to fully commit. They are going to fully commit coming around the corner. Skorky is the next one to fall. Flak is at half HP. And Pride takes down Canadian Mono. Flak now trying to pull back as more shots firing between Penguin Mafia. Look at this chase. Armor actually misses on the move, and Flak could escape. No, Walker Bulldog shuts him down. 4 tanks left alive for Simply Irresistible as JD moves towards the donut. And Kaiser Viticus in the T69, who is not taking any damage whatsoever, wants to clean up. He sees armor, gets the shot on the move and the kill. Vode could be the next one to fall. He is from Blaze Zero. Kaiser Viticus still no damage done to his tank, has fired a number of shots and may have to start reloading here as the M26 Pershing from JD, the consistent fire tank,
Goomba
wants to clean up. And he gets it.
Jumping right on him. And this is looking good for Simply Irresistible. There's a little bit of a chance for a comeback here, but Gigmaster, don't know if he packs enough of a punch to really do this. Blaze Zero might pick up Bobby as he goes up, zeros, and gets a shot, takes 200 damage for it. But now Gigmaster's on the reload, and Blaze Zero is the one who's going to have to carry this one.
It's 2-on-2, and it's the power of the reloads right now against a consistent fire. That M26 trying to unload as much as he can.
Gig gets away. Gigmaster has survived for now. He's going to be able to reload, and Blaze Zero will take some of the heat for a little bit. But once the C69 is back in the fight, I'm thinking Penguin Mafia is going to be able to take this.
And Kaiser Viticus is the last one alive for Simply Irresistible as the M26 Pershing is down. Gigmaster lines up a couple more shots. Can he get the kill? 999 in that volley, but Blaze Zero is loaded, lines up the shot, gets it, and Penguin Mafia puts another point on the board, 3-1 against Simply Irresistible. Penguin Mafia right now, they are the Iron Battalion. They are really locking in those key shots.
Yes, and the teamwork was just so great in that. It was an insane fight. They decided, let's go in, let's just start a fight, let's see where it goes, and the chaos ensued. Things worked out. I saw some really good body blocking in there, putting tanks in front of your opponent so that they can't quite get that kill shot, denying that here and there. Kaiser doing that exceptionally well towards the end. Didn't quite succeed. It's very difficult, but it delayed Blaze Zero just a little bit. In this situation, maybe not going to really decide the battle, but it's one of those little things that seeing someone actually attempt just as a reflex is great.
Things can change now in Prohorovka. Penguin Mafia has a significant lead, 3-1, 2 battles away from closing the series and officially joining us in the Gold League. But this is where things change, and if Simple Tankers is a precursor, maybe has skirmish with Simply Irresistible, then this could be a definite switch, because this is more open compared to Cliff, even though Cliff's a pretty open map, and it allows for a lot more running and gunning compared to the cover systems and mechanics and a bit of the up and down on the hills and valleys of Cliff. So, still anybody's game here, but Penguin Mafia is very close to locking in their position, and I'm sure they're starting to get more and more excited.
Yeah, and if they have been talking to Simple Tankers like you're talking about, maybe we could see that T-32 strat with a bunch of RUs. Or will we see maybe a T-49 sneak its way out, or maybe some Bulldogs again?
What we have seen so far in this series is no real fast flag caps. Going for the flag has been more of a towards the end of the game, hey, let's try to bait them out. And I can appreciate that on Cliff, because you can start those engagements very quickly either in the center or on that western side. Prohorovka is going to be a different type of pacing, because how big the map is as well, and also those railroad tracks that pretty much cut the map in a third.
Yeah.
Or a half,
half effectively.
Yeah, it's effectively a half.
But area, of course, not quite.
It's a little bit more.
Yeah.
What do we have for tanks, Randall?
All right, I like this. We've got a Kernavern, T-32 Pershing 21390s, RU-251, and a T-37. That is Simply Irresistible, the red team. They are attacking. Penguin Mafia has a T-32 Pershing 21390s, RU-251, 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. So you've got on one side that Walker Bulldog strat, on the other you have more Tier 8s, and then bringing that T-37 to complement it.
The initial movement coming from Simply Irresistible is a 3 and 4 split. 3 of the tanks heading all the way to the west, the 4 going for the center area, as the T-32, the slowest tank but also has the most armor, will be heading toward that center section and positioning himself closer to that railroad tracks pass, where tanks can jump up and over to land a couple shots and move back down, or be in a great hold down position such as Scrublet and the M26 Pershing to be in that.
I do like the Pershing choice. It's a good mobile tank, works well in hull down, and next to the T-32, it fills other roles potentially that you don't need a second T-32 necessarily for, but that the Pershing helps with. It can get to other parts of the map, it can begin the flank where the T-32 just holds the center and all the attention there.
I would prefer to have a Pershing and a 32 together instead of 2 32s or 2 Pershings. But 2 shots landing into the side of Flack here. He doesn't want to be in this position. A third one, a fourth one. Flack is falling quickly. He is caught unawares, and one shot he will fall. Already Penguin Mafia now is in the lead when it comes to tanks, but there are a number of tanks on the flag cap, and Armor is trying to engage in his RU-251, and Vode's right behind. They're going to get this kill.
Easy. A little bit too deep there for Armor, and he's going to pay for it. Backup is on the way. Blaze 0 and Canadian Mono moving. Canadian Mono making sure to hold back a little bit. He is slightly cut off, I think, but he should be able to take on Vodon. And with backup on the way, 1390s coming on over very soon with the T-37. They should be able to stop the cap. There it is. Cap is stopped, and it looks like Simply Irresistible is going to decide to begin mobbing Canadian Mono.
One more shot, and he will fall. Vode takes a hit from further away, and he goes down. Laxbrow's the next one to fall as well. Simply Irresistible is showing their teeth on Prohorovka, but Penguin Mafia has set themselves up to punish the tanks that were in the defilade, but now the tanks are starting to flee. JD in the Pershing falling back as Triumph pushes up in that 1390, wants to get behind this medium tank to get the kill. Fires, looks like that one did not penetrate, but JD gets a shot in. Triumph trying to get the last one, he gets it. That's 4 tanks left alive for Simply Irresistible and 4 for Penguin Mafia. Penguin currently the defenders.
Now Scrublet is taking a little fire, but where from? That could be the RU-251 all the way in Bravo 2, who has stayed curiously out of the fight, just kind of sniping here and there. Looks to put one in Blaze 0. I think that may have gone into tracks. Firing heat, perhaps. Did not pen there.
Bobby in the 1390 from way up north, up on the train tracks, looking for any shots. Cannot connect, not spotting anything. The remainder of the tanks for Penguin Mafia are in the Foxtrot line, while there's a spread from Simply Irresistible of three of their tanks, on the eastern side, close to the flag cap, and they could begin that flag cap here soon, but it will leave them exposed to those tanks that can cross the center section. That's where the one tank on the other side, Pride, who recently took a shot, has been spotted, can come in handy here. They're trying to split the danger to get on that flag cap with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left.
And it's going to be a very difficult answer for Penguin Mafia. They need to get rid of this larger group of Simply Irresistible, but they may not be able to afford to ignore the RU-251. And it could just be an even 3v3. Though Scrublet is being taken on by a number of autoloaders now, and that could be difficult to recover from, especially if they land all their shots. There's the Pershing down, and now they're going to go for, is it Triumph or Blaze?
I'm seeing one shot hitting Blaze and then Kaiser focusing on Triumph, so a bit of a split happening there. If they had focused on Triumph, Triumph would be dead right now. Kaiser takes a shot for 249. 2 on 2. Kaiser must be reloading. He's trying to get out of there. Triumph, one shot away from falling. Will get out of that danger zone. Blaze 0 in the T-32, almost ready on that reload. Gets the shot. Kaiser falls, and Pride, last alive from downtown, gets a hit against the T-32 and falls back behind the rock.
Now, if he plays this right, he could get it, but the T-32's armor appears to be effective enough that it's stopping some of these RU-251 shells. The RU-251 firing HE is very effective against other light tanks. Its AP and, I believe, heat shells, not quite ideal.
And look at how fast Stride is trying to get behind the T-32. However, he gets shot on both sides. The 1390 can't land the last hit. Pride takes him down, but Blaze 0 holds the line, and the T-32 gets the kill and the victory for Penguin Mafia. They are up 4-1. One of the best series we have seen so far, Randall. This is incredible. Seeing the potential and the power, not only of the new light tanks, but 754 is making these teams fight.
Really is. You can see the way that the objectives conflict. You have the defender needing to defend, of course, and the attacker has no option but to attack and must then find strategies and tactics which are aggressive. They can't afford to play slower tactics, which tend to work for tanks. Tanks do very well. They're heavy armor, you put them still, you can zero your shots and make them count. But with these faster strats, it seems like there's certain tanks which work very well for it. You've got the RU-251. In this last battle, 3,000 damage for Pride. In his RU-251, he fires 24 shells, not all of them connecting. Good 15 connections, though, which pen for 3,000 damage. I think that's the top for the series on any single tank.
I love the push coming from that RU-251 at the end going, if I'm going to go, I'm going to use every strength this tank has, and that is agility. Now, he took 2 shots coming in from both sides, but he was able to dodge one of the 1390 shots, took down the T-32. If that 1390 wasn't fully loaded, it would have been game over, and Simply Irresistible would have taken the win. Closer and closer, it seems Simply Irresistible is getting to taking out Penguin Mafia, but Penguin Mafia also were the defenders, and so they did not have to move in against the RU-251. Smartly, he thought, I have to attack now. Time is not on my side. So I'm seeing really good decision-making happening. It's just a lot of the execution. Also, not focus firing against that 1390.
Yeah.
The window is so small to make that decision, though. It's so small, and the only way these teams are going to learn to get better is through experience. There is no magic wand that can replace experience. Both these teams are getting it. Penguin Mafia has a lot more of it, and that is what's showing here.
Yeah. I completely agree. You're just seeing these guys do a lot of risk management, and we have to see if they're able to do that very well.
Battle number 6 between Penguin Mafia and Simply Irresistible. One battle away for Penguin Mafia joining us in the Gold League and also making it to the finals. Randall, what do we have for tanks?
For tanks, we've got the Carniverne again, T-32, Pershing, 2 1390s, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. That will be Penguin Mafia, the defenders in the north. The red team, Simply Irresistible, will be bringing a Pershing T-69, 2 1390s, RU-251, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. Seeing only slight variations between battles on their strategies and lineups. I am pretty happy to see a Carniverne. It's a good tank. I really haven't explored it as much, but when I see it in action, I know that it has potential. I've played more medium tanks on the British line. I feel like my experience is stronger with those. But the heavy tanks, after you get to higher tiers, can be rather potent. Lower tiers, I'm not as big a fan of slower tanks. I like to go fast, and the Carnivore can get up to a decent speed.
Well, I love going fast on RU-251. That's a tank I've played the most. Surprisingly, you'd think I'd play the American tanks more, but I really like the 251, but I've also been enjoying that single shot to T-49. Here's that Bulldog creeping up. Scrublet able to see him. No shots fired yet in the center area of the map. Looking at the spread from Simply Irresistible, they have decided to move most of their forces on the western side of the map, the east primarily for Penguin Mafia. So we're seeing a split. A lot of that hill play coming from Penguin Mafia. In their mind, or the commander deciding, hey, if they're going to make a last-ditch effort to win against us, it's maybe going to be from the hill or maybe something crazy. This is another thing that's crazy. All of them jumping on the fly cap right now.
And we got 3 on cap. Looks like we might see a 4th very soon, or at least someone moving north to screen, as Triumph is moving in that direction. Blaze Zero is being forced into the south so he can get some hull down and try and stop this cap. This is going to be a risky game for Penguin Mafia to stop this cap and bring this back into their control. There's only 15 seconds left, and the Pershing is just now getting into position. Triumph is just getting over. Oh, nice resets there. That will save them some time, but they are taking damage for this. Mono is hit. Blaze and Scrublet are all peppered with a little bit of damage, but they are reciprocating some of that, but only onto the Walker Bulldogs.
And Quick Death coming right up over that ridge where those train tracks lie, and he is able to take down Vote. Pressing up, Penguin Mafia close to those rocks. 5 seconds left. Can they get the reset? They do. More resets happening. Simply Irresistible has forced engagement to come to them. Pride from long range in the 251 locks in a shot for the kill. Looking at Flak from the T69 from further up, trying to get those shots on Gigmaster, and sees this push coming from the rest of Penguin Mafia. 3 against 3. Once again, even matchup of tanks still left alive, but the HP is spread on both sides as well, Randall. I feel this is a very even matchup at 4 minutes and 15 seconds left in the battle.
You have to take a look at the tank lineups. You've got 2 heavy tanks for Penguin Mafia representing some armor and firepower, but you still do have a Pershing, which is a potent tank, and this T69, which can tear apart this Carnivore if given the opportunity. He might be able to, but a few missed shots, he's going to throw that off. RU-251, though, might be able to come in and get the shot, but that is a bounce. That is really going to hurt their ability to take this one back, as now it is a 2v2 for just a moment longer, unless... There we go. That is the kill I was waiting for. RU should have gotten that sooner.
And Blaze Zero lands 1 big hit. Second hit coming from armor and a ram damage kill. 1 tank left alive. Penguin Mafia has 1 tank to destroy to win this series and to make it into the Gold League to fight the winner of the second match tonight. Flak takes down armor. It's up to the T-32. Blaze Zero lands a shot into the T-69. Flak trying to land a couple more hits and what's left in his autoloader, and the T-32 does it. Blaze Zero gets the kill. Penguin Mafia gets the win, and they will be joining us in the Gold League. We will see Penguin Mafia one more time tonight in the finals to determine seeding, but we wish them a huge congratulations and welcome to Season 5.
That's going to be fun. Penguin Mafia finally makes it after so many attempts in the qualifiers. They're finally here. They really deserve it.
Yeah,
And it's going to be cool to see their names finally every single night. I'm looking forward to it. Penguin Mafia seems like a fun team.
I'm sure they're very excited. A team that placed 3rd in the Silver League in the previous season, now joining us for the Gold League. What we saw tonight, they can definitely be contenders for the other teams that we have currently. If you want to be a contender, you can sign up for qualifier number 2, which will be happening next week, but you can sign up right now. You can go to the website, worldoftanks.com/UC/tournaments, or scroll down below on our Twitch page. You'll see a link in the left-hand corner just below the broadcast. Click on that link, and you can sign up. You need a team of at least 7. The total roster is 10, and you'll use your own accounts. You'll be matched up in the bracket system, and if you can make it all the way, you're going to be joining us on the broadcast for this season. We wish all the teams that are signing up the best of luck. I'm sure we'll see a lot of these teams that we saw in Qualifier 1 this week sign up again if they didn't make it. I hope one of those teams is Simply Irresistible.
Oh, I don't doubt they're coming back. good chances next time after two incredibly good teams are going to be joining us in the Gold League. Makes it a little bit easier for them on qualifier number 2. So they should go far if this past performance is any indicator, and they'll take some lessons after losing to Penguin Mafia, especially since they weren't able to really make this as close a series as they wanted to. I know they're definitely sitting there right now going, we made some mistakes, we need to make some changes, we need to get new tanks, we need to make our lineups better, we need to work on our strategies and our fundamentals.
And now Simple Tankers is going to be watching the broadcast if they are and preparing for their matchup going, we have to win this one for Simp, for the Simp clan. Because 2 Simp teams, believe it or not, yes, we see multiple Simp teams make it through either the qualifiers or joining us in the season itself. But Simple Tankers is trying to fight their way back. Doge Squad trying to fight their way in for the first time. That's going to be our next matchup. You don't want to